This is one of the most unique horror Roblox games that I've ever played. Happy Face, or this for short, is a psychological horror game developed by Zero Sponsor that came out a few years ago, but is still getting updates for the game to this day. You play as a character named Thomas, who for most of the game is depicted as an orange and yellow Robloxian wearing a straw hat and a necklace. Most notably, a dog tag necklace, which will come into play later on in this game. The first world, Smiley Face, starts off with Thomas in his bedroom, who has many photos of cats around his house, as well as photos of him and his friends, all while the song I Love Beijing Tiananmen plays on loop in the background. The song is mostly known from the game Hong Kong 97, which was an unlicensed shoot-'em-up game that was made in the mid-90s. In his bedroom, we encounter his talking pet flower, Waddle. He asks Thomas to go on his stroll and get him some bird seeds. There's a little puzzle that you have to do at the beginning in the house where you have to go around your house and find keys, unlock different doors, and so on. Once you find the key to go outside, you enter a very colorful and bright world with friends, flowers, and birds. Once you step outside, Thomas starts to feel a bit weird. He mentions that he needs to pick up his medication from his friend Flame Guy. However, something strange starts to happen once you proceed further into the world. You encounter strange posters put up on numerous trees, stating that a 7-year-old boy by the name of Flame Guy Jr. went missing. We encounter different characters like Jam Tart, which is a Roblox head that really likes birds. You encounter different characters and friends such as a fisherman, different friends and family, and of course you encounter Flame Guy. When talking to Flame Guy about your medication, he tells you that he doesn't have any on him right now, and that he can't give him the medication anymore. You end up talking to the character named Zachary, where you ask him about your hidden medication and where it might have gone. He tells you that you can't keep taking the medication anymore, and once he stops taking his medication, then he'll see the real world that he lives in. Thomas is clueless as to what's really going on in his life, and shows that the world we're playing in right now is not real and not what it seems. You end up encountering a bird and take the bird's sack of seeds to give to your flower. However, once you head back to your home, you encounter a very hungry flower just outside of your window. But that's not all. When you walk behind the house, you will see a sad blue flower. Very odd to see in a happy and bright and colorful world like this. When you approach it, you get teleported to a different world called Sorry. This is Sorry, a copy of the first world, except this time, it's nighttime. Everything is lightened with a dark blue. Thomas and every other face in the world is sad and frowning, and all of his pictures hung up on his wall are changed to this, an eerie and unsettling face of a man, which is most commonly known as the Ever Dreamt of This Man face. The front door is already open, but when you walk outside, all of the flowers in the world are the same blue kind as the one behind the house. Every NPC and bird previously have all vanished. There are also different copies and clones of Thomas wandering around the map as well, which makes the setting even more ominous and eerie. Going behind the house again, you'll encounter another flower, sparkling, bright and grainy. Walking towards the flower will teleport you to Hallucination. Same location, but this time you're outside. Everyone is gone. It's a sunset, and only a white figure that's all the way at the end of the alley. Thomas now has a scarf on. He seems frustrated, eye twitching, showing that his mental state is deteriorating. When walking up to the white figure off into the distance, the figure speaks to you, telling you that you are hallucinating. You end up asking questions. What is this place? Why am I hallucinating? What's happening? The meds are causing this hallucination. You stop taking them. The white figure asks you if you remembered the incident that happened. What incident could he possibly be talking about? You ask him what happened, but the figure stops talking and answering questions. At the end of the world, there is a teleporter. Upon walking up to it, you will end up teleporting to the world Confused. This is another hallucination world, as you are spinning around in a colorful cylinder. You still play as Thomas. However, your appearance is changing quite a bit, as half of your body is now black pants, and a black shirt with a specific symbol on it. As you spin around and walk to the end of the tunnel, you will be teleported to the world called Spawn. This is where things get strange. You play as a nondescript character with black clothing and white skin. You spawn in front of a group of houses with a spawn point block hovering and spinning in the middle. There are several other NPCs around the map with the same appearance as you, most of which are near their houses. When talking to some of the NPCs, they will tell you about a cave as they wonder what might be inside of it, as no one has gone inside of the cave. So what do? You walk through the fence with the sign "Do Not Enter" on it as you enter the cave. This spawn point area is a bit odd, but what I like to think is that it symbolizes Thomas's mental state. It's been a while since he's taken any of his medication, and like the character of Zachary told him at the beginning of the game, once you stop taking the medication, you'll see the real world as it is. When you enter the cave world, you will walk alone with only a lantern on you. You end up at the end of the cave, but there are two signs pointing left and right. You have two choices: go left or go right. When going right, text will flash on the screen telling you to go back, but continuing to the end, you'll encounter an NPC with your appearance. Walking into the character will trigger this: a black screen, following up with a bloody hand reaching out for you with slowed down music playing in the background. Your entire Roblox client will end up crashing. The bloody red hand plays a pretty big role within this story, but as of now, not much is known about it and what it might symbolize. The character you're playing as might symbolize Thomas. In this section where you encounter this NPC, this might symbolize Thomas coming face to face with himself and possibly his past actions that he committed, coming face to face with dread and guilt that he has. What horrible actions did he commit? When turning left, however, you encounter a character holding out what appears to be a pill bottle, spamming the message, "Don't be sad, Thomas," all while the screen gets distorted and colorful. When you approach the character, the text above changes and reads, "It hurts. It hurts so much, Thomas. Please make it stop. I can't take this. Please end it all, I beg you, Thomas. Why won't you listen?" Right after, you'll be teleported to Fun Forest. So this character, who could this character be? Well, later on in this game we will find out the identity of this person, but we can link this to the incident that happened when you take a right in the cave, when you come face to face with your character. As mentioned before, that can symbolize guilt, dread, and the character feeling those things for a specific act that he committed. With this, we could take a look at the mysterious character with the pill bottles. He is suffering, telling Thomas not to be sad, and then tells him that it hurts so much. The dog tags that Thomas wears everywhere in the game. What do dog tags resemble? Military, war. This character must have been a friend of Thomas during a specific war, and this must be Thomas confronting his trauma and PTSD from the war. Most likely, his friend dying in the war. And continuing through the Fun Forest level and approaching a colorful flashing tree, we will soon find out the truth, and that it might be the case all along. When approaching the tree, you'll be teleported to the World Museum. Once again, you play as Thomas. All of the paintings in the museum are horrifying, graphic, and disturbing images that depict drug use and hell in the paintings. These are all real paintings from real-life artists as well. There are also a few different characters looking at different paintings. However, one of them stands out the most. This character by the name of Spawned, who has a scarf on and the same shirt and pants as the character you encountered in the cave. When entering one of the rooms in the museum, there are 3 entrances to different worlds: Disco, I Love Meds, and Confusing Nightmare. Entering Disco will bring you to a club where different characters are dancing around while music is playing in the background. However, walking towards the bar, you will see 3 characters sitting next to each other: the returning Flame Guy, Happy Friend, and Thomas. Flame Guy is looking at Thomas with an annoyed look. Happy Friend is just, well, happy, holding a happy medicine. But Thomas looks miserable, sad, and depressed. Confusing Nightmare is a nightmare that most likely Thomas had or is having at this very moment. The nightmare has references to Thomas's time in the military and the trauma that he encountered during the war. Scrambled text flickers on top of the screen, and when deciphered it reads, "Protect the country, destroy the soldier. We trained you to suppress emotions. Keep doing that. You fought for freedom, now rot in peace, and support our troops, ignore our dead, which is a dark and depressing and, in a way, an anti-war message that is continuously mentioned throughout the remainder of this game. Walking through the world, you will encounter dead bodies scattered on the ground titled Useless. You will also encounter NPCs that walk back and forth saying messages like, "They told me to take the meds and stop overreacting." You will also encounter a strange, deformed, and horrifying face floating around the map as well that is also screaming. But most importantly, you will encounter a pile of burning bodies with two tall figures standing over it with their heads being money bags. That is pretty much it for Confusing Nightmare. We have one more room left in the museum to explore. I Love Meds is a full-on Roblox obby. You once again play as Thomas, in which you have to jump on clouds and go through different obstacles. Upon reaching the end of the world, where you have to run down the rainbow, a strange figure is standing ominously in the distance at the end of the rainbow. It is Flame Guy Jr. When you start to get closer to him, the screen will turn red and the rainbow will drop, with the text "Too late" flashing on the screen. Now this world can mean a few different things. 1. This entire scene mostly represents Thomas's experience taking medication due to the war, and how it's essentially an escape from reality for Thomas. But reaching the end of the world would also represent Thomas's unfortunate overdose. And 2. Something did end up happening to Flame Guy Jr. revolving around Thomas. Thomas must have done something serious. Was he the cause of Flame Guy Jr.'s disappearance? Or is this just another imagination and hallucination in his mind? Once you fall into the void, you will get teleported to the world Stop, in which you start at the beginning of the journey. Except everything is red. Thomas has big, hyper-realistic bloodshot eyes. It's dark, but also there are the same bloodied up hands scattered around the world. From the trees, to the grass, to the sky, they're everywhere. One disturbing element in the world is that you could pick up the hands and eat them. However, there is one hand that is hidden behind one of the trees next to the bird, in which if you pick it up, you will be teleported to a flashback of a battlefield. You are a sad ghost walking around the battlefield with bodies everywhere. But the most disturbing bit of this entire world is that when you walk over to the left side of the world, you will see Thomas eating his friend. This explains why previously you were able to eat the hand flowers in the Stop world, and the bloody hand jump scare that appeared in the cave. The hand symbolizes his friend who died in the war, the man that was giving him the pills in the cave and was yelling at him to please make it stop, it hurts. What's this friend from the war who he ended up eating? This is the guilt and dread that Thomas was feeling all along. He feels horrible for what he's done during the war, and uses medication to help him with the pain and sorrow. At the end of the world, you will encounter a glowing red flower, and when you click it, it will bring you to another memory of Thomas's called Distress. It is an empty void. You play as a ghost once again. We see Thomas defending himself with a knife, all while a group of shadowy figures are standing right in front of him. Text on the top of the screen shows that Thomas isn't thinking right, saying things like, "You're not supposed to be here. I'm scared. What do you want from me? Leave me alone. This isn't right. I don't want to hurt anyone. Why can't I remember? Who are you?" Now this most likely resembles Thomas during his breaking point. He's hallucinating and going insane at this point. The shadowy figures are his friends trying to help him and trying to de-escalate the situation. However, his friends are distorted and bent in his mind. The meds are affecting his brain to the point where he can't think straight anymore. He is overwhelmed with grief. There is a pill bottle right behind the counter, and when clicking it, it will bring you to "We Forgive You." You walk through a hallway with rainbow colors flashing on the walls. You end up approaching a room with many different white glowing flowers, as well as characters scattered throughout the room, your friends, and memories from the past. Most of the characters are those you've encountered at the beginning of the game, all of which are hanging out together, smiling. At the end of the room, we see Thomas hugging a rainbow spawn man. The rainbow spawn man appears a few times throughout this game, but this moment, he symbolizes Thomas's grief This is the moment in the story where Thomas chooses to recover and forgive himself of what he did and the mistakes he made in the past, and that the Rainbow Man is forgiving him. He is moving on with his life as well as moving on from his guilt. Messages that seem to be coming from his family or friends appear at the top, some of which say, "We are here for you through the ups and downs." Life isn't always easy, and sometimes we stumble. Sometimes it's okay to not be okay. Please know, you're never alone. We forgive and we forget, and we grow together. When walking at the end of the world, you will be teleported to Real World. The first glimpse of reality coming from the POV of Thomas. We see his friends and family surrounding him. These characters are ones that we know of already. However, since this is the real world, they all look a bit different than what we see them as in Thomas's hallucinations. More importantly, we see the characters of Andreas and Andreas Jr. Both of these characters were known as Flame Guy and Flame Guy Jr. in Thomas's hallucination. Nothing bad ever happened to Flame Guy Jr. Flame Guy, or Andreas, is trying to comfort you and make sure you're doing okay. Thomas is overdosing as the screen fades and drifts from black to the real world. They call the ambulance and the screen finally fades to black for good. You then get teleported to a hospital, but this time, you play as your own Roblox character. The text, "See you on the other side, Thomas," is shown on top of the screen. While walking down the hallway, you see a door open that leads into a room. Walking into the room, you will see Thomas in his bed with friends and family standing by his side. But also, you will see the Rainbow Man once again standing there. Walking towards the white void at the end of the hallway will teleport you to the ending of the game. Back at the house, everything seems to be back to normal, minus the SpongeBob Jellyfish Jam song playing in the background. Except everything is empty. There's no Thomas to be found. Here, you will find that the pictures on the wall are back to normal. But this time, we see that some of the photos on the walls are a bit different. They're memories from Thomas. Him hanging out with his friends, and most importantly, a photo of him with his friend from the war, together, smiling, hanging just above his bed. A letter is laid out on the bed too, from Andreas Jr. This was one of the most heartbreaking, eerie, disturbing, and sad Roblox horror games that I've ever played. Once again, the game was created by Zero Sponsor, and I'll leave a link to the game in the description down below. If I missed anything from this game, or any kind of key details about the story that I didn't bring up in this video, and I will for sure look out for it. This was a really interesting yet fun video to make, so if you all want more content like this in the near future, then subscribe to the channel, like this video, and leave a comment down below, and let me know what other Roblox horror games or ARGs you want me to make a video on next. Thanks again, everyone. Bye for now.